Okay, we are live with Josh Stratton from Stratton Studios and Costume Kingdom. How are you doing today?
I'm splendid, absolutely splendid, I have to say. How is everyone else keeping?
Good on my end. I think we're waiting for some people to show up for the chat. Um,
I'm sure they'll all be keeping splendid when they do arrive.
yeah, I mean, mine is the Red Week. But
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
so, tell me a little bit about yourself. You have two gaming studios, correct?
So, um, yeah, so Stratton, so me as a person, I'm kind of a kind of serial entrepreneur. I am situated within the media space and the gaming space, as well as other industries, and now moving into kind of more crypto based stuff and NFT kind of ventures. But essentially, my main kind of companies, one's called Leverage Digital and the other's called Stratton Studios. Stratton Studios is a game development and publishing company based in Wicklow, Ireland. We publish and focus on single player narrative experiences for the console market. So, consoles like Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, all that good stuff. And then on the other end of things, Leverage Digital, we're more situated in the film space. So we kind of focus on film, film advertising, media, stuff like that. So, yeah, couple offshoots, and then I've a load of other off skew companies that are just random, just because I love working and I love all that type of stuff. So yeah, but Stratton and Leverage are the main ones, and Stratton Studios is the one really that I'm positioning now to push really into the NFT and kind of console NFT space, and making that push and making that kind of merger for the future of gaming, really, because it's the next step for where we need to go as an industry to really progress forward, and for everyone, just to make it a better kind of overall experience for the player, which is our ultimate goal.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I watched some of your previous interviews, and like the way in which I feel you understand or plan to use NFTs for your games is just like dead on. um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what you started in NFTs?
So I've been in cryptocurrency since back in the day, since for a long time. I've kind of been always, I've been always a silent watcher, kind of watching the space evolve, kind of always thinking to myself in the back of my head, I think this can go somewhere, but we just need to wait and see, and then kind of this year, especially, it kind of really hit hard on me, with Stratton. We are facing a lot of roadblocks in the console market. So for anyone that doesn't know, the console market is held by a couple big companies, very few. A couple of big companies control it all. And it was kind of always a struggle to, get your game out there, kind of get new players, because you're competing against companies that have billions of dollars. And I suppose I was like, okay, what can we do, and what can we do for our players that makes us feel like we are going to provide value? Because that's the only one way I know to build a strong community, is to provide value, to give more than I'm getting back. That's like, it's just the only way I know. I don't do any of the other, I'm a very, I suppose, I'm very strong with my ethical beliefs and my kind of, what's the right path for things and how someone should act. And, I've always kind of tried to take the virtuous path and not go down any of the more slippery, kind of slimy routes within gaming, like, advanced monetization of your games, using formulas like the ARPDAO formula to extract money from your players. I'm not about any of that. I've experienced it, and I've worked within the AAA space. I do a lot of consultancy work for many big AAA companies, EA, Activision, Blizzard, all these guys, and these are all the things that they're doing, and I just don't like it. I don't feel that it's fair on the player base. So I was kind of thinking to myself, I was like, okay, we've a problem in the gaming space. How does that get solved? What is the solution to that? And the only real solution I have seen, or a feasible solution, is making the gaming space more decentralized and making it kind of move away from main gatekeepers where it is now. So when NFTs are kind of starting to come up and, the technology's evolving, I was kind of saying to myself, okay, this is something that could work. The only inhibitor for this is, will people adopt it and will people actually use it? Because there's plenty of great technologies out there. It's all about whether people actually adopt it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. So it kind of, this year it clicked when everyone was kind of hopping on the NFT wagon. Everyone was talking about NFTs. People actually knew what NFTs were ahead of a blockchain. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. We're starting to see some mass adoption here. So then I was like, okay, right. The technology has proven itself. It's time to try and capitalize upon this. And then I kind of started thinking along the thought process of, okay, how can we actually implement NFTs into the console market? Now, I know many NFT companies are trying, and they're saying that they're putting them into the console market. Like, our game's going to come on, Xbox or PlayStation. But the one key thing that none of them have is actually console publishing experience. And with console publishing experience, you realize how gatekept and how it actually works behind the scenes. And I realized that there was a major roadblock. Major roadblock being the gatekeeping of the technology onto the console market. So I kind of said, okay, we need to make this push, not only as a single entity and not like for a whole profit scheme, but for a community to drive this forward, to make it kind of, to make it right for the future of gaming. So then I said, right, okay, that's my vision. That's what I want to do with this. Then I said, right, okay, how can that be done? And then I kind of went down the thought process of, our gaming studio does not make multiplayer games. That's not what we're about, and we're not going to start, because we don't hop genres just to chase things. We don't do that. We stick with what we do and we implement it in a way that can be good. So then I kind of said, right, well, single player games have a couple ways they can get people on board with NFTs into the games. Number one is governance. And what I mean by governance is, so I'm sure everyone here, or anyone that's watching, and I know I've done it myself, has, joined a Kickstarter for a game that they like, and, put like, say, I don't know, $50 down, and maybe they get to vote on the decision in the game. And players love that because they feel like they are a part of the journey. Then they feel involved. Players always want to be involved. When I was growing up, all I wanted was to be part of, to make a decision in a game, to be able to just have that little piece, even though if I'm not getting that back of it, just to say, okay, I was part of that in the early stages. It's a gratifying feeling seeing something come from nothing to fruition. And, I said, okay, so governance is great. So the number one thing you can do is you can have a governance NFT that allows people to, vote on decisions within your game on a recurring basis. And it actually helps on the development side of things because you get feedback from the community, which is what we want as developers. That's what alpha testing is for and beta testing. So I decided that was the number one thing. The other thing we could do is achievements. Achievements, great way to reward the players, something they could keep forever, something that if the server doesn't go down, if the server goes down, that they're still going to have, they can transfer it into their wallet, keep it there forever, keepsake, lovely, something they can always have. The other thing off that would be stuff like you could do merchandise. Oftentimes people want to support a gaming studio more than just buying their games, especially if they're heavily involved in the community. So then, that's another way to do it. And then it was kind of the other kind of final dream I had was ultra governance. And what I mean by ultra governance is, kind of like an NFT an NFT that would act as a kind of like a share within the games, kind of how well it does financially. That was the final kind of concept that I had. Now, obviously, that concept is well down the road because, you know, we have to skirt around securities laws. There's hundreds of things that have to be done there. But that is my ultimate dream for single player games, is to be able to do that and to be able to say to our players, listen, you're just as invested in our game as us. So you get some of that like reward back. You know, it's for you too, because I suppose gamers feel cheated overall in the market. Like if you're playing Call of Duty or something, all people always say is, oh, you know, I'm always like, they just don't feel rewarded. They feel like the developers don't care. And I can tell you, because I know the developers, they do care. You know, they care about their players, but a lot of the time they're watching their bottom lines, and that causes a confusion. It causes this, you know, this kind of misguidedness between the developers and the players, which in turn causes frustration. And our gaming wasn't built on frustration. Gaming was built on a community. It was built on this weird kind of hobby that everyone had, that played games, that, you know, like sitting in the room till 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, running around chasing goblins or something. You know, it
brings you into a new world that you can be a different person. And I mean, for me, that's been like one of my favorite parts about video games, is like I can go into a world and nobody knows me. I know nobody, so I can be or do whatever I want.
Yeah, it's that escapism, and it's that escapism from the real world. It's that break from reality, that kind of that step into Pandora's box that just, you know, it enraptures people. But I personally feel that that's been lost over the last few years. You know, as we progressed into gaming with advanced monetization, it's constantly just constant bombardment of, I want your money, I want your money, I want your money. It's like, no, that's not what we did. That's not how gaming was built. That's not how we made this great industry. We need to focus on what made it great, not what is going to increase, you know, the balance sheet at the end of the year. And I suppose there's many developers that feel the same way as me, but a lot of us get swept under the carpet because a lot of us aren't willing to continue to push forward, because it takes a long time to enact any change, specifically within the console market. Like the battle that we're fighting at the moment to try and get NFTs into the console market is going to be a long battle. It's going to be a very long time. You know, anyone that's saying it's going to be over a year or two is unfortunately not telling the truth. You know, we've had the conversations, we're having the conversations ongoing, and while I can't say exactly what's happened in the conversations, I can tell you it's not going to be a quick, you know, it's not going to be a quick fix. We have to look at things like, you know, for especially within the console market, you know, what is the gatekeeping that's going to be? Well, regulation. You know, number one thing that is kind of I suppose unclear for a lot of the platforms right now is what actually needs to be put in place to ensure that the players are going to be safe. Because we all know that there is nefarious actors in every space, not just in crypto, not just in NFTs, in anything. You know, we can't have that in the main console market. There needs to be safeguards in place, regulatory bodies that ensure, you know, these things aren't going to happen, even audits, you know, all these things need to be well thought out, because before you launch a game on console, you have to put your game through numerous organizations, numerous, you know, rigorous testing phases that need to be gone through, and they all need to be kind of, all the processes and kinks need to be worked out for that to be implemented. And for the main console kind of stakeholders to consider that, they need someone to put that together, because they're not going to do it themselves. And the reason they're not going to do it themselves is because they're already making a killing. Like last year in the console market, they're making millions and millions of dollars. And, you know, why would they change anything? Because they hold the keys. You know, they already have microtransactions. Like I was talking to a big AAA director head there about a month ago, and I was talking to him about NFTs, and he just said to me, "But why? Why would I bother?" Here's why. Like, why would I bother doing that? Because right now I can run everything through my own servers. I can, like, you know, the player doesn't own anything they buy currently. I hold all the keys. I control everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Why give it
It's,
up?
and yeah, why give it up? What is it? What's in it for me? And then I said, then my answer was, well, for the gaming to evolve, we have to do this. And the attitude was, well, if I can get another 20 years out of the way it is now, I'm going to do that, because that just means our company's going to grow even bigger. And again, then we'll just throw a few million at it and get it all implemented. You know, they're in no rush. They really aren't. But for us as players, I just don't think we can last another 20 years with the way things are going. Like, if we look at gaming 5 years ago, right? Overall, we didn't have all these loot boxes. We didn't have all these skins in games. Yeah, in games, you used to actually play the game to unlock a skin. Like, I remember you had to complete a challenge in a game to unlock a skin, not pay, like, you know, €3 or whatever it is. You
The
know,
only and now it's like some of the skins you couldn't, or most of the skins you can't even unlock. You have to pay for them, and generally those are the coolest ones. Like, I mean, Call of Duty is kind of the biggest one I would call out here. Like, a lot of the basic stuff that you can earn is always like stuff nobody really wanted to earn. Like, the stuff that's really good that everybody wants, you have to pay for.
yeah, no, 100%. And it's just not fair. And from talking to players, I know they're fatigued, and I know that that's not what players want. They just feel entrapped, and you know, it's a bad look for the industry. And it's, you know, people will drop off eventually. Look at the film industry. You know, the film industry starting to become less popular now because they stuck to their guns. They didn't adapt. They didn't go to streaming. You know, it's starting, like, you know, industries live and die by the changes and decisions that they make. And I feel like, you know, a lot of them are now starting to kind of realize that. So it's in a very interesting kind of time we are in. And I suppose, like, some would say that NFTs and gaming, that's like the biggest mainstream use case that there can be, because we're already seeing it in a weird centralized way with all these AAA companies. So it's a very interesting one, but that's kind of how we're kind of looking at it, and that's kind of our vision right now for where things are at with the console market.
So if there were something that could happen, say like before the end of the year, that would push these AAA companies to adopt this, I think my answer would be the players. What do you think would be something that would actually like motivate them to make those changes?
Unfortunately, it will never be the players. Very
Really?
unfortunate. It will never be the players, because the players, they don't like, you know.
But if they
So
spend money on all the skins, like if like the next, I mean, the issue is this like would never happen. But say the COD release that just happened, if nobody bought it, if when they launched the game, the people who did buy it only played the game and they just decided to put their foot down and they're tired of buying stuff they can't own, like, I don't know. I guess I'm wishing for something that would be pretty
yeah,
impossible to get everybody to
it,
do that.
it wouldn't happen, because what they do is, this is exactly what they do. If the players did that, they'd say, okay, all right, what we'll do is we'll start from scratch again. We'll start with giving skins away for free. We'll start with that, and then slowly we'll start adopting it in again. And how they'll do that is they'll say, oh, do you work, like, are you working 9 to 5 and only have 2 hours to play at night? Why don't you just give us, you know, €2, and we'll give you a little fast track there. And they slowly plant that seed, and there'll be always someone that'll get it. The only person that can enact this change is the stakeholders and the shareholders. That's really it, because that's who they listen to, you know. And so, well, like, you know, if anyone's ever been to an AGM for like Blizzard or Activision, I know I go to most of them. A lot of them, it's all about, okay, what do our shareholders want to see? What's gonna make our shareholders happy? What's gonna, that's really the conversation that's happening, because a lot of these big companies, when they go public, that's who they have to listen to, is the shareholders, because they're the ones that are in control. Now, how would that kind of, how could I see, it becoming like mainstream by the end of the year? I think it would be impossible. And what I mean by impossible is it will not happen until the main regulatory boards are put in place. So let's look back to what happened in the early 90s. I don't know if anyone remembers what happened with GTA and Rockstar Mortal Kombat, all them games. So essentially what happened was the early days of gaming, when violent games started to come out, they're nothing violent compared to today. There was a massive outcry. Everyone was saying like, oh, we have to regulate this. We have to ban this. It's going to corrupt our kids. And that was a big concern. So governments were actually about to step in and regulate the gaming space and say, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And then all the gaming community got together and they formed two boards. Well, more than two, but two main boards. They formed ESRB and PEGI. So the Entertainment Software Rating Board and Pan-European Games, whatever the I stands for. So they formed them two boards, and essentially they decided, okay, we are going to gatekeep games and we're going to rate games moving forward, and that is going to solve the problem. So then you know how violent the game is before you get into it. And that stopped government regulation. So something like that needs
too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
or they couldn't do these things and said that legislation would come, and then instead they just made their own.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so essentially, and all the platforms adopted it, Sony, Microsoft, everyone adopted it and said, okay, you need this to publish with us. And then it went, and then it was fine. It sorted it. So that's, we've already got a use case in history to see how we can bring something mainstream. And that is how. So we need a board of kind of people that is going to say, okay, this project is relatively safe. They're not doing anything crazy, they've got good intentions, there's no malicious code in the back end or anything like that. We can verify that and give that a stamp of authentication to say, right, they're fine. And we've checked them. And that is the thing that's needed to allow the console markets to push forward with it. And here's the other, and it will happen. There's one concern though, and this is the battle that we're fighting, is that because Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, all these companies, they see how much money is being made in NFTs. If you think about it, who are they going to allow to do it first? Are they going to allow an external third party to do this first? No, they're going to allow their first party studios to do this before anyone else. And, that is the real concern, is because imagine this situation. Imagine if Call of Duty can only have NFTs currently in their game. No other game can do it. Only Call of Duty. And it's like that for years. That's my concern. That's what I'm scared about, because that is the number one thing that is going to shut it down completely, because they're going to ruin it. They're going to find a way to make everyone hate it. And then it's
the heart of the whole decentralization.
Yeah, it's going to go. Yeah.
It would be tough to like onboard people for, because I mean, you'd onboard the gamers, but anybody who's here for the NFTs would be infuriated by something like that.
Yeah, and it's a tough one. It's a very tough one to navigate around. And so the only solution to that, and the only way we can get around that, is by coming together as the community, as the NFT community, as the developers who are looking to publish on console, and say, okay, we are going to band together and we are going to kind of form a coalition of sorts, and we're going to push for this, and we're going to make this happen, and we're going to show that this is, and do what needs to be done from both a legal and, kind of all the, back end place too. Because here's the thing, right? From a technology perspective, you could implement NFTs on a PlayStation or Xbox game tomorrow. From a technology perspective, there is no roadblock that is in place. The only roadblock is you're not allowed to do it. That's the only roadblock that we currently have in place. And like, and I know, like, and having spoken to, some of the, like, I know at least 3 AAA companies right now that are working on their own blockchain and that are looking to implement that into their games. And, I can't say the name.
Their own blockchain to make their whole,
their own,
like,
yeah,
awesome.
but they're making they're going to centralize it. It's going to be so centralized. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be like run on their own servers. It'll get more decentralized over time, but and I'm sure, while I can't say the exact names of the companies, I'm sure everyone here can guess who it is. Just think of what games have some of the most kind of microtransaction heavy out there, and you'll probably, get it. And another little hint, if you think of what game announced that they're trying to build a metaverse, like 2-3 days ago, then you're probably on point with who's trying to do it. So yeah, it's like, it's bananas. Like, to me, it's bananas how we are so close, but yet so far to making this happen. But the only way to do it is to, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, the only way we can make this kind of actually happen is by banding together, and we are doing that currently. Like, we've partnered with Engine, like that's going to be announced over the next few weeks, and we're kind of looking to get everyone together and just push for this, because there's not many people like in the NFT space that's kind of a crypto kind of head, as I call them, who's into cryptocurrency and likes the technology, that is actually actively developing and trying to get this into consoles. Like, I've spoken to a good few other kind of crypto developers, but they're not experienced, and it concerns me, because I can tell you now that the console market is a dog-eat-dog world. And it's tough. It's tough to get your game out there. It's tough on consoles, you can't publish a game with a bug. Like, it just doesn't happen. And everyone's kind of like, and if you've ever played Steam games versus console games, you'll probably notice the difference. You're wondering, why is there like such a quality difference generally? Obviously, there's some ones that slip through the cracks, but why is there generally such a big difference? The reason being is because the boxes you have to tick to get on console is absolutely crazy, and the money that it costs too. Like, it's not cheap to publish on console. It really isn't. Like, you have to get your game rated by every region you want to publish in. If you're doing disc, you have to worry about logistics. It's big business. And I suppose a lot of the NFT community are more kind of focused on the, kind of loving NFTs and stuff, but they've never actually ran a actual, brick and mortar business before. So it becomes harder. So it's an interesting time,
So in that sense of like consoles being so difficult to work with, why wouldn't there be just a mass movement off of consoles or onto, like, say, a developer released a console that was entirely NFT gaming and had no centralized control over any of the assets you held in your console?
It could work.
Yeah. It would just need they already have so much mass adoption that it's hard to scale bigger than that.
Here's what had happened. And here's exactly what had happened. And I know exactly what they'd do. Say I announced to the world, okay, right, Stratton Studios is publishing the Stratton box, and it's going to be NFT only. That's all we're doing. Games with NFTs, you can plug it in, Works kind of like Steam Deck or whatever. You know, it's going to be great. We're all going to love it. I announced that to the world. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call. Hello, Josh. Here's 200 million. Stop what you're doing right now and move on. That's exactly what happens.
In the dirt. It happens all the time with corporations. A better idea comes out and they pay to put it in the dirt.
Yeah, and they offer too much money that you can't refuse. And if you say no, here's the thing, and here's the scary bit. If you say no, it's the matter of, okay, we'll do it better. We have more money, we have more people, you won't win.
But
and
that
that's the what.
Why not call them on that? Because, like, in that case, everybody still wins. And then
yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one because a lot of these guys, while and this comes from knowing a couple of people, and even if I know a couple of guys this has happened to as well, they always seem to ruin it. They always seem to, they come in with good intentions. They come in with big corporations, come in with great intentions. Oh yeah, we're part of that. Yeah, I like the sounds of decentralized. Yeah, let's go community. And then slowly they start slipping in kind of slightly. Just look at the loot box evolution. Just look at that. It started off with just one little thing. Oh yeah, this is only for people who don't have time. Don't worry about it. Gaming's going to stay the same. 5 years later, fast forward, everything's a loot box. That's just the way they do it. They slowly condition you. Yeah,
sorry.
They slowly condition you over time to accept the conditions that they want you to accept because they're in no rush. That's the thing. The way corporations look at this is they look at it from a perspective of, okay, we need to make this happen over 5 to 10 years. We're not looking over months. We're looking at years. Year 1, we make this happen. Year 2, we slowly push it a little further. Then we push it a little further. So look what's even happening to game trailers right now. Most of the game trailers now are just cinematics. Like they say gameplay trailer and it's just an animated cinematic. It's like, okay, that's not actually the game.
It's almost like, so I feel like movie previews had a time where they were like that. And it's been interesting to me for gaming that it's become that. Because to me, I've never watched a game trailer for the graphics. Not once. And I've never understood the push to make a game trailer about graphics. Like a game, to me, graphics in a game are a bonus. They've kind of become something that's expected, but it's never been something that makes me play a game or not play a game. The actual like gameplay and the amount of thought that went into like when you're making this decision here, going A or B will have like these sort of consequences and like thinking through what a player would do in that instance and giving them a challenge.
Yeah. No, and that's how players think. And the difference is that when this is generally how it occurs. So let's take a company, for example. I'm not sure if people here know this, but so let's take Endeavor Group. Now, if anyone's ever heard of Endeavor Group, they are one of the biggest game stakeholders. That holds the rights to many gaming companies. So like they own THQ Nordic, they own all these different companies. And for example, at their AGM, what happened, for example, was they were like, okay, guys, we need to make sure that all our trailers this year are full of cinematics and all this stuff. So it's the shareholders that are pushing this. It's not that their trailers aren't to please the players. It's to increase their share price. And and a lot of people don't like take this into consideration. But if you actually go to one of these meetings, and I'd invite everyone because they're a public company, you can just listen to the quarterly updates that they have to do. It's crazy how kind of distant they are from the actual kind of from the actual gaming community. Oh, sorry, it's not Endeavor Group, it's Embracer Group. God. Embracer Group. That's the company I was thinking in the back of my mind there. Endeavor, that sounds like a different company I was talking about. But yeah, so like Embracer Group, they're the ones that own THQ Nordic. And even if you click onto their website, it's embracer.com, you know, you'll see all the games that they own. Like we've got THQ Nordic, Deep Silver, Coffee Stain, Amplifier, Saber Interactive, DK, Gearbox. And not many people know that Gearbox is actually owned by the same company that owns THQ. Yeah, and if you scroll down, you'll see the companies that they own.
Yeah, so Gearbox.
Yeah.
Games,
81,
Saber.
81,
Wow.
81 gaming studios they own. And a lot of these gaming studios that they own, they all compete against each other. It's so centralized. And these guys are the guys that are making the decisions. So, for example, I always laugh. I remember it was like, oh, Gearbox are competing with THQ. It's like, no, they're not. They're owned by the same company. So it's important to take these things into consideration. And if you look on that website, right, what's the number one thing you see, especially up the top? It's all about investors, governance. How do we work? How does everything we do work? You know, I don't see anything on that page about how our actual games are going to be better this year, what our game vision is. It's all focused on investors, press, you know, what we're doing, how we're being sustainable. There's not one thing about their game vision.
Yeah, there's no vision page. I'm trying to look in these to see if there's anything that would say, like, here's who we are and what we believe in.
It's crazy.
Here's our story.
Yeah, it's very, very centralized in a way. So like we embrace change. Yeah. And it's kind of like they don't give you much. Like it's very kind of one-liners, marketing blurbs. Okay, yeah, we want to acquire this different studio. You know, it's very, very kind of, it's intriguing.
This is not the gamer.
Sorry?
This is like even this history, I feel like, isn't written for the gamer. This is written for somebody who wants to put money into Embracer Group.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is like
aren't something that would stand out to a gamer, but if I were to say invest, like these are things I would be looking for. It's yeah, like exactly as you say, that's so interesting to me. I never thought that that's why advertisements for gaming changed that way.
Yeah, it's because at the quarterly meetings that they hold, it was a big thing. Hey, I seen that this other company is doing really nice trailers. Why aren't our games looking like that? And then there was the devs who were in the meeting were like, well, it's because that was an animated cinematic. It's not actually gameplay. And they were like, no, it has to look great. It has to look like a movie. It's people, it's the shareholders that are controlling all these companies, which is crazy. It really is crazy. And when you realize that it's like that for nearly 90% of the companies in the gaming space, then you realize what's actually going on. And even think of this, like Stratton. Stratton's an indie studio. We've even been approached by these big companies who want to acquire. I've just always taken the vision that that's not the path I want to take. You know, it's just not what I want to do. But yeah, it's how it works, and it's absolutely crazy, you know. And I would implore everyone to actually go do a little bit of research and look at that, you know, and to see and even look on their like their annual report or their webcast that's on their homepage. You can actually see their last quarterly meeting, and I'd say it's like usually an hour or two, but it'll give you a lot of insight into actually how the gaming space works and what drives these decisions. And it's and once you realize that, then you realize what the real battle in the game and in the gaming world is. Yeah, so you can see the AGMs, you can watch all the webcasts. and you'll realize what the real conversations are about and what they're actually concerned about and how that is going to mold the gaming space. And the really funny bit is, and I always say this to people, which cracks me up, is the first thing you see when you click onto their homepage, if you scroll down, before you see any of the games they've published, you see their share price.
I didn't even see
Yeah.
that. Just on their
Yeah, so
homepage,
if you
scroll down.
so if you scroll up, see it's the share. Where it says the share, it should pop up. It's not popping up for you.
Yeah.
It's but there's a chart. I can actually, if I can just let me see. It's it's just sitting there. It's a share chart. It's not popping up for yourself for some reason, but literally it's just a share chart, and it just shows their share price. So it's
Why it's not popping up. I think it's Brave browser. Yep. Okay, it's popping up now. I'll put it back on screen.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. And
their news and media and their share price. That's like when you go to this page, that's what they want you to know.
Before you talk about any games
that are really fun for these kinds of people that would really enjoy this, which my brain is kind of exploding right now realizing this. I had no idea.
Yeah. And most people don't know. And now I think probably you'll start to see the concern more that what if this happens to crypto? What if this happens to the NFT space? Like everyone says, oh, we need mainstream adoption for crypto and NFTs. I say, yeah, we need mainstream adoption, but we need to be hella careful that this doesn't turn into one of these monopolies, because it could. It really could.
And
like
easier than I feel like it happened in current like console gaming. I feel like with NFTs, it would be easier for somebody to come in and just dominate.
100%.
The first start or the first mover advantage there would just be huge.
Yep. 100%. The first mover advantage is the whole thing. Think of this. What if just imagine this situation, and I alluded to it earlier, but imagine if Call of Duty got 5-year exclusive NFTs on console that no one else could put on console. That would rocket their sales up hundreds of thousands. Just think of all the, because we've got, we've got a lot of very intelligent people in the NFT community. We've got degens too, who are just in it just to make money, and that's all they care about. And they're just going to say, yeah, let's do this. All right, let's all hop in. I don't care about, the technology. I don't care about what's going to happen in 5 years. I don't think that far ahead. And they're just going to hop in and they're just going to scoop it up. And if that happens, we're essentially proverbially screwed, because then they're going to hold a monopoly on the market. In the normal traditional markets, and this is actually hilarious, in the normal traditional markets, you are not allowed to hold, I think it's more than 33% market share as a single company like Facebook, because, it's just not fair for competition. In the gaming space, that's never been pulled up, even though it's held by, the top 3 companies hold about 90% of the market share. So it's bananas.
In crypto.
Yeah. It's definitely a crazy one. And I suppose that's the main concern with regards to how we bring crypto in an NFT is to the console market, because I feel that is the next push for NFTs to really become mainstream, is to get them into gaming, for players to, be able to buy an NFT skin that is backed by an NFT that they can transfer across platform, that they can hold forever, that there's an aftermarket for, where they can actually get some of their money back if need be, where, just if the gaming server shut down, they're not they haven't lost their thing forever. They can have it in their wallet there, more security, all these things. Like, just think back and we had things like this or implementations like this in the past. Like, think of Uplay with Ubisoft. They used to do it. They did like a coin where they, it wasn't like backed by a blockchain or anything, but they used to have like this coin that was points. And for every game that you bought, you used to be able to get merch and like desktop backgrounds. It was actually pretty cool, but that was back in the Assassin's Creed days. Yeah.
Yeah, you can
So
do that on Steam, and you can even, I think there are like certain in-game skins you can buy with them as well.
yeah. So they're doing it in subtle ways, but the problem is that they have now switched. It's like in the beginning it was fair, and it was actually, it was actually got like, so I remember the points you used to be able to like unlock, say, I think it was like you platinum our game, you get 100 points or something like that. It used to be fair. You got them for playing the game, but now it's all like, okay, top up with a loot box, all this type of stuff. So it's it needs to move to decentralization, and it needs to move to a more kind of fluid way of interacting with each other. Because the other thing that we all have to consider is, remember, for NFTs to work in a meaningful way within the console market, we have to get all the main consoles to actually talk to each other and to actually allow the asset to be transferred across, across borders, essentially. Like, think of it this way. Imagine I'm playing Call of Duty. I bought a skin that was pegged to an NFT, but I also play PlayStation, and I want to send that across so I can use it on PlayStation. Well, PlayStation and Sony's number one concern is going to be, well, I didn't get any of that money, so why am I going to let them use it on my platform? I want a bit of that. So it's going to be tricky how we navigate that and how we ensure that it's going to work, but it can be done. Like, just look at Fortnite. That was one of the first titles to be multi-platform that you could cross-play, and it's worked so well. It really has, and players are liking it. And I think that's one of the main reasons why Fortnite took off, was because of that feature. But
I'd argue all games that made that change had a huge influx in players when that happened. Because I don't know, for me at least, like most of, like, I guess it just kind of worked out, unfortunately, but most of the people that I grew up gaming with, we all chose different consoles or different systems to game on, and like it becomes difficult to find games to play. Definitely more so a year ago.
yeah,
But like
100%.
a lot of games pick back up just only because they added that. Like, if they hadn't added that, I wouldn't have touched the game. And I think I'd argue that that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah. And imagine even this is where I like to go down the rabbit hole. And imagine if you bought a game on Xbox and you had an NFT license pegged to that, and then you could transfer that license to any platform you wanted. Like, just the possibility of that. And then you could transfer that, and then there could be an aftermarket. It would do companies like GameStop completely out of it. They'd be gone. But imagine if you could even do it this way. Imagine if a company like GameStop pivoted, and a company like GameStop could pivot, because they yeah,
like, or yeah, they're teasing that they're going to pivot.
yeah, I think they could pivot, because they got absolutely shafted by the VC firms and everything. They got like they're angry, the whole GameStop board. So them guys, I think they could pivot. Imagine this. Imagine GameStop opened a marketplace for your games, right? Your game licenses. That was NFT based. So you bought a digital license and you sold it to, and you traded it or whatever to GameStop's marketplace. They bought it off you, and then they sold it on to someone else. It could work in that kind of way, where the license could be transferable through a kind of more a truest more centralized company, and it could work in a very meaningful way, because that's how we used to kind of buy secondhand games. Was we used to go into GameStop and we used to pick up the discs. So it, like, there's ways around it, and there's things we could do. And even like I feel like players wouldn't mind as well. Like, say for example, they had to pay a very small, like, I don't know, like transaction fee to transfer that license across. I don't think they'd mind. Like, if I was to say to you, all right, if you want to play, if you bought a license for my game on Xbox, and you want to transfer that across the PlayStation, sure, you can. But for, like, all the admin stuff and everything, it's going to be like $2-3. You'd probably say, yeah, sure, whatever. That's fine. Like, it's something small that's not going to, because they're not going to do it for free. That's just the reality of it.
Just half your transaction fee. Brad Clip brought
Yeah.
up in a similar point, like for transferring weapon skins, just some sort of transfer fee that they take, and that's where like Sony or Xbox would get their money to hopefully be on board with that.
Yeah, and think of it in this way: if they're doing that and they're doing like very little like work in the back end, they're not really going to care, because like it's just, think of the amount of money they're making. The other thing that people don't realize though is, and here's another kind of mind explosion for a lot of people, is that if you have a game on console, you don't, like, there is a big fee taken right off the top. Like, we're talking 30 or 40% gone straight off the sale directly to Sony and Microsoft. Directly gone. Like, so the developer, like, say a game's a tenner.
Like, it makes it really hard for smaller companies to build games, like, and it affects the price at which they have to sell their game.
There
was one game a few years ago, and they like had said they were gonna release it for like $5 to $10, and they ended up releasing it for like 25. And I was like going through Reddit chats, and everybody was saying that whole, like, the only reason it was higher was due to that fee that's taken on the top.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, like, on a $10 game, like, most of our games we release for around 10-ish dollars. On a $10 game, you're probably coming out at the end with maybe $4 after $3.80, if even, after tax and everything like that. So you need to sell mass units, and if you're not doing that, your operating, becomes much harder. So it's interesting, and I suppose the console market, the console platforms, they're going to want to get their money back some way off the transfer of assets, and that's why I would say it's going to be like they'll probably put a percentage on it, just like a gas fee though. And I don't feel players would mind. I really don't. As long as it was reasonable. As long as it wasn't crazy. Like, if you bought a skim for, $10 and the transfer fee was like 20, it'd be like, well, I'm not going to do that,
Yeah, like, here.
Yeah.
Have like
100%.
I mean, I think that's why we see so high value on a lot of items on Ethereum, just because, like, you're not going to transfer something that's $10 if it costs $100. I'd rather throw it in trash than try to move it, because it's going to cost more than what I spent.
Yeah, and I think that's a big problem with Ethereum right now, though. And obviously with the layer 2s, and as we move into E2.0, that should come down over time. It's just a matter of circumstance right now. But I do feel that, like, like, I can tell you now, I haven't sent something on Ethereum in a long time. I will not send something if it's going to cost me like over 100. It's like not a hope in hell. I don't care if it's worth like 10K. Not going to happen.
Yeah. Because I mean, even that's 1% of the value. If it's a 10K asset, $8 fee, like, that's a lot to have to pay to move something. Brad Clips is bringing up another question. So I feel like from your previous stream, I know how you'd answer this, but why would the digital download want to be an NFT as well, instead of just the same sort of digital downloads that they have on Steam?
Yep. So so right now, when you buy something on Steam, Amazon, and I actually seen an article about this the other day. Everyone was like mind blown about it. You don't own that. You don't. You own nothing about that. You don't own that license for the game. If I just want to pull access to that, I can. And like on the back end of like say I issue a code, let's use Steam because that was the example. If I can just pull that. I can pull the game. You've lost access. Steam can pull it too. You do not own your. It's like the old saying, not your keys, not your crypto. You don't own the key to that game. And that means that then you can never transfer that. That you are only gaining access to that as long as that company allows you access. So, just think of this. Say Steam gets acquired and they say 10 years down the line, okay, guys, we are going to start implementing a new fee where if you want to keep your licenses active for admin purposes, we have to charge a $10 fee per year per game. Sorry, but listen, it's just the way things are happening. It's just the way things are now. They could do that because you don't own it. Whereas an NFT, an NFT would allow you to own that asset. You hold the key to it. You are the pegged owner. They can't take that away from you. Like you become the owner. And I suppose some people wouldn't care. Like some people are like, oh, whatever, it is what it is. But especially for people that maybe can't, don't have that much disposable income to throw at games and to just be like, yeah, okay, let's do this. It does, like, that could be a big hit for them. And that's what you have to think of. You have to think of the people that maybe just because it wouldn't affect you doesn't mean it's not going to affect someone else. And you have to think, okay, ownership, outright ownership of asset is right for something you buy. Like I know, for example, if someone came to me for any of our games and said, hey, listen, I bought this game on PlayStation, but I want to play it on PC and I don't really want to buy it again. I'd just say, here's a PC code. There you go. So we kind of already do it anyway. If someone contacts us, it's just what I believe in. I don't want someone double paying. But yeah, so outright ownership. So you can transfer that everywhere. You can put it in your wallet. You have the license to that game and it's pegged to you and you can transfer that because right now you can't. It's owned by the company and you're only essentially renting it for as long as they feel fit to actually, own that. Like just think of Blockbuster. Everyone remember Blockbuster. Just think what happens. Like Blockbuster was unstoppable in their heyday. Unstoppable. They went out of business. And if Steam goes out of business, eventually, I don't see it happening. But say if it did, there goes all the money you put into all the games. The rent and the games that you've rented, because that's all you essentially do on Steam right now.
Is there anything in the? I guess I could try to read on the. I'm gonna try to read it on the next game I buy. Is there anything in the terms of service that clarifies how long they have to allow that sort of lease?
No, I can tell. Well, it depends. It's a be in studio to studio thing. But I know that if I pulled my game from Steam and I subpoenaed them to get that off there and I opened that, it'd be gone. Everyone that'd have it
with with nothing for the people that owned the game already.
Yeah,
like there's no place for them to go to get anything out of what just got taken from them.
Yeah, no. So I could do this. Think of this, right? I could have on my back-end server for the game, I could just implement a new splash screen. Hey, sorry, we're closed now. Bye-bye. It happened with Club Penguin. Nothing for anyone that. Yeah.
I love Club Penguin. I was so sad.
Yeah, nothing happened. Hi, bye-bye. If you click onto it now, it still says it. It's like, no, bye-bye, we're done. I can just implement the splash screen, and now I can just run away with all your hard-earned cash. That's essentially, yeah, the way it is. And Steam, Steam don't care. What are they going to do? They're just going to say, oh, sorry, we can't control our external developers or external contractors, because that's the way it is. You're not an employee of Steam. So yeah, it's with the console market, it's a little different. Console market, there is minimums that they put in their contract, but realistically, what are they going to do if you just decide to pull your game? Like, if your company goes out of business, they can't touch you. Really, like they can't. There's nothing they can do. Like, say for
depending on why you went out of business, like
yeah, like think of this way, and it wouldn't really affect the single player game as much, like we make, because you could probably still play it because the servers wouldn't be active or whatever. But think of this way: imagine it's a multiplayer MMORPG that you're playing, and their company shuts down, the server shuts down. You can't play the game anymore. Steam, PlayStation aren't going to host their server. That has to be hosted by the developer. So it's it becomes tricky. But there is minimums in the PlayStation that, like, I think it's the active support's like 5 years they expect. It depends company to company, really how long they support it. But I know, for us internally, we guarantee a minimum of 5 years. But realistically, if our games, our very first game's still playable today, and it's fine. So, if there was a nefarious actor, like, it's very what ifs this happens. But I suppose, look at Google Stadia. That's another great example. Google Stadia is a perfect example. That's going like under, essentially. That's going to be gone.
I haven't heard about it in forever. I never looked into what happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Google Stadia is gone. Let me just check. Google Stadia.
So I think for Costume Kingdom, what I'd say I'm most excited for is to see a single player NFT game. It isn't like, I guess I'd say it's something I didn't think was actually possible. Like, just because I guess I just play a lot of multiplayer games, and because then there would be sort of like a guaranteed earning route for anybody who played the game. And would it be endless? Sorry, I have a lot of questions about the single player aspect, because I'm really see how that plays out.
So it'd be very easy, actually. Very easy to do. You can cap people on how many, like, you don't want farmers who are just going to sit there all day and, do the old wow gold farming type thing. You could limit it one per person. Essentially, one per account. You can implement loads of kind of limitations in that way. But I suppose the way we would peg it would be, say, for example, this. With games, we can say, for example, a license to a game, right? Say the license to the game is pegged to an NFT. Okay, so say the license for a game is pegged to an NFT. Well, we can actually, in the back end, say, okay, that NFT that we've minted, that has a unique identifier. We're going to do an RNG draw, on the back end, and that license to that specific game is only able to unlock this specific character within the game. So they get, so we can kind of randomly hard code things into the game, which will create a scarcity to it. So there'll be different base level assets. So say you've got a legend, let's use Costume King, for example. And, we've different tiers of Holomon. Say, for example, the mythic tier. So you've got the top tier. Say we could say, okay, only 10 random copies of the game can actually unlock him. And it's kind of like Willy Wonka, Golden Bar type thing. So it's it becomes kind of interesting in that way, and they could be pegged to certain values. Or the other thing could be, say, for example, that completionism gives you a certain like special NFT that not everyone's going to get, because not everyone's going to complete your game 100%. So there's different elements that you can kind of hard code into the single player style game, and it's just really a frame of reference, really, that's your limitation. Like you know, every unique, and that's why it works so well in the console market, because there always is a unique identifier to the game that isn't transferable. So what you could actually do too, and this is another interesting thing, is you could have that license to the game where you could say, you know, there could be like a, you know, a nice little Boolean in it or something that says like, you know, has unlocked a secret or something like that, which means that the game, you know, that person's already unlocked the, you know, the special thing that only they could get out of that game, you know. So there's loads of different kind of nice little nuances that you could do. And we could also, you know, peg NFTs to certain Easter eggs in the game, so only certain players are going to see certain Easter eggs. So make like kind of like a treasure hunt, but a real treasure hunt. Like not like just like, you know, a treasure hunt in the game where everyone can do it, like an actual like, you know, treasure hunt. That's the type of thing you can do with single player. Now, like while there is certain like, you know, things that everyone can get, I see them more acting as like base set tiers that are, you know, have high mint numbers anyway. So it you know, an ecosystem can be built, and then you can get into, on the NFT side of things, you can start creating blends, you know, like say for example, let's say let's use just license 1 and license 2. Say like all license 1 games unlock an owlie that is an uncommon character. If they blend with an owlie from license number 2, then it unlocks an ultra owlie type thing. So you can kind of mix it in that way and use blends and stuff like that to actually, you know, build an ecosystem around it and build an economy that is going to be scalable for the aftermarket too. So it can be done. It's a little more, it requires a little more kind of than the traditional, you know, multiplayer aspect to it. But it's very much in the same way, except it's against the computer, and there's a lot of programmed kind of values into it. So imagine like buying your game license is like buying a pack on like Nifty or something. So kind of like that.
The reason to play the game again too. It would be a different game almost. That's really cool.
Yeah. And it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how that evolves over time, you know. And I suppose because we're one of the first that are trying it with single player, like there's going to be kind of, you know, obviously, you know, teething problems. Like say we implement something and it just doesn't work and it's boring and it's just like, you know, crap. Okay, we've learned from that. Let's keep moving forward. But my plan and my kind of vision would be that the NFT is carry forward for all your games. So say, for example, you had an owlie, like, you know, rare, ultra rare. You had an owlie ultra rare and you played that in Costume Kingdom. You own that NFT. And then you played Splink, our newest title that we're working on. You played Splink. Then in Splink, you would unlock a special part of that game that no one else could see unless they have that NFT. So there's loads of different things we can do. Like just think of this way: if you remember in the PS2 era, how if you had a crash save and you played Jak and Daxter, you'd unlock a special like thing in Jak and Daxter. So you can do really cool things in that way. And it just kind of adds another layer to it, you know, another fun layer of enjoyment for the players.
It takes a lot of ingenuity on the design end, which I think is really cool to hear about, because I hadn't even gone down those sorts of paths when I tried to think about it.
Yeah,
I'm just like battle reward instead of like understand who this character is and like where they would want to go, and you'll find an Easter egg or something like that. I think that it has been missing from a lot of games, like you were saying earlier, and that's I'm really excited to experience that.
Yeah, just imagine this, right? This is what like gets me going. Imagine you're on like an island with a load of these creatures, and you know that on that island somewhere there is a secret and there is an NFT that you can unlock, and only you can unlock that NFT. And that NFT has maybe an ability that not everyone else's NFT will have. Like imagine like, you know, there was individual for each license of the game, there was like a different mutation that that character had, and like that NFT had. So it was an individual NFT. And, you know, imagine you knew he was on the island and it was like, okay, I have to find him. You know, it's that reward. It's like finding a shiny in Pokemon, except for actually finding that shiny, you get something that could be
Yeah, you
worth
can sell
something.
yeah, which
Yeah.
people do that in Pokemon. I remember going to GameStop for the used games to try to find games that like people had played it. A lot of times you'd find like hacked ones where they just have all the shinies. Those were like the jackpots.
Yeah.
um,
And that could all be pegged to the license, you know, and that's the type of thing. So if you think about it, we're doing this already in a weird kind of hacky way. You know, players are kind of implementing these systems themselves in single player games. Like, you know, and I think the moment clicked for me as a game, because I feel like in NFT games, crypto games, there's not a lot of game design. You know, they're not really thinking about it from a design perspective. Like they're not thinking about the flow, the synergy, you know, what's the player loop going to be? You know, they're not thinking of let motifs within the game. All these different game design things that we are ingrained as console developers to implement, you know, like weenies. Like no one knows what a weenie is. Every time I talk about a weenie, everyone's like, what are you talking about? So essentially a weenie, for anyone that doesn't know, think of Disneyland. Walt Disney founded this kind of theory, this concept. So in Disneyland, the first thing you see when you walk into Disneyland is, if anyone's been to Disneyland, is the castle. Your eye is drawn to the castle. A weenie is something that leads you through the experience. You know, all these things are missing currently from a lot of NFT games, and they will come with the console market. Because the way I look at it is the NFT gaming space currently is like the infancy of gaming back in the day. Like it's like the infancy back in the day when the games were more rudimentary, you know. And as the kind of the heavy hitters get involved and the console devs who are like, you know, like machines at creating these amazing worlds and experiences, that once they get involved, it's going to blow up. It's going to be crazy. Like I'm just so excited. Imagine, and this is what I think, like imagine for a game's marketing campaign, like there was for a single player game, like the studio placed QR codes or something like around a city. And they were like, okay, guys, we've hidden a special, you know, NFT throughout the city. Go find it. Here's your hint. You know, there's loads of things that you can do to really make this meaningful and kind of, you know, rewarding for the player and to get players involved. And that's, I think, the real special thing that NFTs bring to the gaming space that traditionally is missing. And that kind of spark is missing. Like, you know, hearing about Fortnite with their latest skins doesn't get me excited. It's just kind of like, all right, yeah, okay, they're increasing their bottom line. But if someone was to say to me, listen, we're doing a real life treasure hunt, there's an NFT pegged behind it, no one else is going to get it, there's only one of them, you know, I'd be like, yeah, I want to find it. Because that's the way humans are programmed. We want things that others can't get. And, you know, to be able to do that is magical, I think. And I think it's going to bring the magic back to gaming. And when I say the magic, everyone's like, oh, here he goes. But like, you know, the magic of gaming is something that is missing, and it's been missing for a very long time. And, you know, it's something that you don't realize is missing until you look back. Like anyone that's played games when they were a child, just think of that mystery. Just think of that sense of awe, and you don't know what's in this world. Like now you're just like, when you're playing a game, you're like, all right, I have to go down this corridor, I can't go over there. It's not that kind of an enrapturing experience, that experience that's going to make you not be able to sleep because you're so excited about the next thing in the game. And that sense of magic is something that is kind of lost in gaming right now. And when that's lost, we need to bring it back. So that's really why I think that is the next push. And that's why, as well, even for Costume Kingdom, like say, for example, this takes 4 or 5 years to get the NFTs into the mainstream console market. Say it takes 4 or 5 years. Like it could. Say it takes that long. And Costume Kingdom then becomes obsolete because it's a 4 or 5 year old game. It's been out already a year. Okay. Then we move everyone that's on Costume Kingdom NFTs. They automatically get access to our next title's NFTs that's going to be implementing them. Like this is endless. This is like that's the power of it. We can just transfer everyone over. Okay. You've got an Owly uncommon set. You can unlock, a Gargan uncommon set in our newest game. Let's roll with that. Like, it's endless, because that's the other thing that I'm very conscious of, is as this is going to take a while, like the games have to be like up to scratch too. It can't be a boring game. It has to be kind of, mysterious, has to be all these great things. And, these are the type of things that really I think of. I don't think of NFTs and crypto as just a way of money extraction. Like everyone in crypto, a lot of them anyway, seem to talk about the monetary aspect of it. And it's like, no, guys, let's okay, that's a great benefit, but let's talk about the actual, the core values of it, the core things that we can do. How can we make your experience better? Because I always say this to people, is as a gaming studio, it's my role, it's my job, it's my mission, and it's my vision to make the player have a good time, to give enjoyable experiences to others. That's to share that with someone, because it's so powerful. It's so powerful as a developer to be able to to know that a player is enjoying your game. Like I remember in one of our games, I got a phone call from one of the players, and they said, I really, really loved your game. That's helped me. That's made my day a little better, and that made it all worthwhile. Even though that particular game was not a financial success, I said, well, listen, I don't really care, because at the end of the day, I made someone's life better. And I think that, it's very important to do. Like, as developers, we are for the players, and that's why, our Stratton's mission value is kind of, remember your roots, love what you do. And what I mean by that is, remember where I came from as a gamer. Remember, I used to spend 16 hours a day playing games. That's all I used to do. I used to sit in those worlds. I used to do all these things, and I remember that, and that molded me into the hard-working person I am today. And I want to give that to someone else. Like, I want to be able to, when I'm finished and done, be like, okay, I made something that someone else enjoyed and that changed their life for the better forever. And if I can do that, then I'm happy. And I want to do that in a way and that's why with NFTs and stuff like that, it's just so much better, as it enables me to give back to the community in a meaningful way, not just, through experience, but through a reward also.
We're lucky to have you in this space. Like that viewpoint of, I guess, creation of something is such a necessary thing for any game that's being built, for like literally anything that's being built. Just like, how can we do something, create something that makes somebody else's life even like a second better?
Yeah,
that's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's very motivational to me when I hear you talking like that.
Yeah, and not enough people talk like this. Like that's why as well, like, you know, and I'm gonna do this later and everyone will see it. I'll go into the comments on YouTube and I'll probably spend an hour and I'll respond to every single comment. And I'll just say, like, thank people. Like it's very important. Not enough people get thanked for the time they like everyone that's watching this stream. And I do this and everyone's like, oh Jesus, here he goes again. But like anyone that's watching, thank you. You know, thank you for taking the time out of your day, you know, and it's important to just do that. You know, I feel like not enough people give back. And that's why, like, you know, as well, a lot of the time, you know, we always sign off with a lot of things that we say on our like, you know, Twitter. We always say to people, stay awesome. And, you know, because that's the thing, like, you know, saying to someone, stay awesome, you know, it brings them up a little. It's a little bit like, oh, yeah, thanks. Like, even in our Discord community that we have, you know, it's all positivity. It's all like, you know, bringing people up, you know, how's your day? How are you keeping? You know, like, I remember there was one member that got stuck out at night one time, and like they literally got stuck in London, and we just, you know, as a company, we were like, oh, all right, yeah, we'll just book you a hotel. No, don't worry about it. It's fine. Like we can't see you, you know, being stranded. Like, and they were like, what? They were like, no one's ever done. And I was just like, yeah, like, you know, listen, you give back, and it comes back in the long run. You know, it's important to be, and that's the way I always like. You have to be a wholesome person too. You treat people on a personal level, you're going to get like good things back, and it's just the way you have to act, I think. And I feel like as developers, you know, a lot of the time it's all about the money. It's like, oh, how much can we make this year? And while that's important, it's not the true reason why I started anyway. And it's the same goes through all my businesses, any business that I run. It's about making someone's life a little bit better, changing someone's life in a meaningful way. And I feel like if we don't have people that have that attitude in the crypto space, we are going to get corrupted. Like even during this whole bull run, we've seen a load of people get in, do a load of these scams and all this stuff. And it's like, seriously, like, you know, does that make you feel better? Like, you know, because I know when I do something that, you know, gratifies others and that is good for other people, it means that it makes me feel good. You know, one of the best things you can do in life is give. It really is. And by, you know, by being like that, motivating others, helping others, giving someone a dig out. Because when I started all this all them years ago, I didn't have any help. Like really, I didn't. I was not like it was all like bootstrapped, you know, pull your sleeves up and get working. And it was hard. But I don't want it to be like that for everyone else. And that's why the crypto space and the whole NFT space enraptures me so much, is because everyone's so helpful. A lot of people are helpful. Like even you and myself, like we just got talking. We were like, hey, let's hop on a you know, a stream. Like that's wholesome. That's what we need. Like even Hydro, like, you know, messaging him, he was like, oh, I'll put you in touch. You know, that's the type of thing where I like to see. That's the, you know, that's the community that I want to be a part of. And I want to help grow in a better way. And I want to keep it kind of vanguarded from, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep it vanguarded from those who will do what exactly I know they will do and corrupt the space and turn it into a malicious place, because it shouldn't be. You know, players should feel like, and I always say this, you know, with any project that you're looking at, you should always look at the team. Who's actually running it? You know, who's the man behind it? Who's the man behind the glass? Because if it's someone who's just, you know, if someone who's not being honest and is very mysterious, like Mystique, then I wouldn't be going near it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, people, and I always say this, and I say it to all my staff too, I always say people buy people. People will always look at the person first. Who is it? And that's what, like, you know, and that comes through everything we do. You know, it's all about going that leg up for people. And that's what we need in the NFT space. Like even with the, you know, the costume kingdom, like NFTs. Like I already talking with a couple other developers who were trying to get into the crypto space. And I'm like, yeah, I'll help you. Don't worry. Let's do it. Other console devs wants to start doing it too, because it like, it's fun. It's enjoyable. Like, you know, and I love it. I really love it. Like, you know, a year in the crypto space feels like 10 years in the traditional space. Like so much things change, so much happens, you know, every day you're like, oh, here's another thing. And I think with that kind of how the space is currently, you need them people who are like, okay, yeah, like guys, like how are you doing today? You doing well? Like, you know, stay awesome. You know, you need that wholesome part of it, and that as a community, because I know that's what made the gaming space great originally. Like John Romero, who made Doom, that's what these guys were doing. They weren't doing it for money. They weren't doing it because they wanted millions and millions. They were like, oh yeah, I'll make Doom, that'll make millions. No, they did it because they wanted to make the space better for others, and they wanted to give someone else an enjoyable experience that they were enjoying themselves. And that is the power that we need to implement into the gaming NFT space. And we need to vanguard that in a very close way. And any developer that is trying to do that, I would say support them as much as you can. And just get like, and I don't mean support in like a financial perspective, because it's not about that. I mean, like, you know, just like, you know, it only takes a second to even drop a like on the video, hit a subscribe, all that good stuff just helps. And just be as wholesome as you can in the space, you know, get involved with good people. And that's the way I'm looking to carry this forward. Obviously, there is the corporate side of it, trying to push with this, you know, big push to get NFTs into the console market. But that's a fight that, you know, I'm willing to fight. And that's why I'm getting involved with like Engine, for example. They're making a push too for the console market, and so are we. And why not do it together? Like, why not do it together? You know, two swords is better than one, you know? And I would say that it's a matter of, you know, and I do see that in a lot in the crypto space as well, a lot of tribalism, you know, a lot of, and it happens on consoles too, you know, the what do they call them? The Xbots and the Sony ponies. Like, you know, it's just ridiculous, you know. There's no need for any of it. And at the end of the day, if I think that in the crypto space, how young it is in the NFT space, there's enough room for everyone. So why not take a look at other projects? Why not just get involved? You know, if they're a nice community, get involved with it. And if they're not the community for you, you don't have to get involved with it. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, support every single person that's nice. No, but, you know, kind of just don't, like, you know.
Even reading the content they've created is like that's a way to support a creator, because like they put a lot of work into that. So even just reading it, maybe posting like a single thing about it, and like that can mean the world. Because if everybody did that, it
would grow.
Yeah, all games would grow incredibly fast.
Yeah, and what you'll notice is if all this starts to happen, there'll be less scams. There'll be less kind of all this type of stuff. And the reason being is because human psychology, in a way, is that games, if game developers can do something right and hold, so like it's a lot of crypto projects, you know, they started out as a scam, but then they actually realized about the community and they said, we can't do that to these guys. Let's continue to actually build this. You know, if someone can do something the right way, they will. It's only when they turn to the kind of the dark side of things when they're struggling and they just are, you know, pushing. And that's, you know, as the crypto space evolves, as the NFT space evolves, we're going to see less and less of that, you know. And yeah, right now it's all really just implore everyone to just keep, you know, keep growing within the space, keep learning more, you know, try to learn something new every day, and just be excited for all the new developments that are coming on. You know, and just, you know, try to be a little bit nicer because I feel like it's especially now.
Like, this really goes a long way. A lot further than anything else, in my opinion. Like, even like sending a smiley face and like a few chats when you wake up. Like, there's an off chance that one person saw that and that was what they needed in the morning, was just a little smile.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing, that like, you don't know what other people are, where they're at, like where their heads at. You don't know. You really don't. And you can't take that into account. And you need to consider that when, you know, kind of thinking of these things. And like, also sometimes, you know, I think it's important, and I think in the NFT space as well, you know, sometimes we get a little bit kind of too sucked in, and, you know, sitting up on Twitter at 3 a.m., you know, reading comments maybe isn't the best thing to be doing. It's important to everything in moderation, and to be, to just be doing things that's making you better as a person every day and continuing to evolve. I think that's really the thing, that's going to push. And that's one thing I've noticed about a lot of the big projects within the NFT space, is that they are being, I suppose, they're very wholesome, and they care about the community. And the ones that aren't doing well don't really care about the community, and aren't continuing to build, and aren't continuing to push good things out, and that's the type of good stuff that we need moving forward, and that will carry well into the console space. As a whole crypto and NFT community, we need to really band together to get it into the console market mainstream. We can't just have, like, if it's just me and a couple other devs really pushing, it will take years. But if there's like 50 or 1,500 of us, then maybe they'll start to listen, because then they'll start to run the numbers, and then it'll start to get things moving. But it's a battle that's worth fighting, and I think I'm just excited to see what happens over the next few years, and to see this kind of progress further, and to continue to evolve, continue to keep making games, and to see where this really goes. And just just loving the space, meeting new people. I think that's the main thing in the meantime.
Do you keep mentioning like everybody pushing. It'd be interesting to see like some sort of petition with like an NFT in return for signing the petition. Whether you want it or not, like you could even get an NFT. Like if you say, no, I don't want to sign this petition because I don't agree with it, then you get airdropped an NFT that says, I disagree with this. And if you agree with it, you get an NFT that says, I agree with this. And I think it would be very interesting, because then, like, I mean, since it's all decentralized and open, you could see how everybody voted, and like there would be that sort of community that grows around that concept.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think as well, that's one of the things that will start to happen as we start to, get because right now it's really, we're getting all the legal stuff together, making the legal push, because there's a very set process to get all this stuff approved. Like, for example, like I've been down this road before with another piece of middleware, another technology that we got implemented into consoles. And it first starts with the legal. Then it's like, okay, right, you've got the legal sort of side of things sorted, fine. Now let's move into a prototype, a closed door prototype, where we can see how this works. We need to roll it out to maybe 1,000 players, get their opinions. Then after that, it's okay, right, now it needs to go to upper management. Then after that, then you get the final sign off. Then it's a beta rollout, and then you're finally into it. So there's a set process to it. But right now we're in the very early stages of the legal side of things, because getting that all sorted and getting the framework with the EULAs and the licenses all aligned, it's tricky business. But as I say, there's some great people that are really pushing to get this done, and there's money behind it too. That I know the engine. I know just for the example, the engine guys are really, really pushing to get this, got this sorted. They want this. They've got the exact same vision as me, and I'm I'm assuming everyone else does, and every other kind of blockchain project in the crypto space does too. Not just engine. All of the ones. That's the main vision that they want. If they want to focus on console market, which is a market that I think we need to move forward over time.
It's almost impossible nowadays to fully do gaming without any sort of console playability, because so many people only have that as their means of playing a video game.
Yep. No, 100%. That is the mainstream way of gaming. Like, not everyone has a gaming PC. Not everyone wants to troubleshoot the issues to play on, because you do have more issues on like Steam and everything. Sometimes games won't launch, or you've got a weird bug, and it just gets more problematic. Whereas pick up and play, it's been the way for years, and it will continue to be the way for years. And it's just a very exciting time to be a part of this and to continue to push for it and to really get this going somewhere, because it will take time, but as I said, battle we're fighting for.
Yeah. So before we end here, I picked up a few of the Stratton Sire NFTs. I was thinking we could do a quick little giveaway for everybody who's here right now.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Okay. Have you heard of Crittercraft?
Crittercraft, the name sounds very familiar.
It's how do I best describe it? It's a way for running giveaways that is very unique. I really like it. I like the whole like design of it. And the way it's
Yes,
was.
very Halloweeny vibes. I love it.
There we go.
This is awesome. I've never heard. Yeah, I actually, I think I've heard you talking about it before. Maybe I've seen it. Oftentimes I'm always I listen to streams rather than watching because I'm always working.
Yeah, I feel that. We had them on. Let me get the date right just to make sure. Yeah, last Friday.
That's
Gad.
must be what it been.
All right, so anybody here unfamiliar with Crittercraft, you type !play and then your wallet address to enter. And then here I'll show. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying it's very interesting the way they've done it. I really like the UI. The logo has me enraptured a little bit. My favorite times of year is Halloween. So it's kind of, I love it.
Yeah, based on I kind of feel that based on Costume Kingdom.
Yeah, and then the previous title before that was Castle Costume, which was a Halloween themed collectathon. Really, really fun, interesting title. Is good. Yeah, I love Halloween. I think it's a very underutilized it's very underutilized season. We have a lot of Christmas too. We don't have a lot of seasonal games. And I think I don't know about yourself, but Halloween for me, it's furthering that kind of magic that I always talk about too. Always when you were a kid, you go trick or treat, and there was a certain spookiness to it. I don't know, it really gets me excited and going, especially in Ireland too. We've a lot of kind of that's where Halloween started, was Ireland, was Samhain. So it's I love it. I really do. I could talk about Halloween for a very long time. It's good.
I know that it started in Ireland. That's cool.
Yeah, the festival of Samhain. They kind of started, and then they used, instead of pumpkins, they used to use turnips. Used to make the jack-o'-lanterns because there was the pumpkin dude would come and that warded them off or whatever. Yeah, it's all good fun stuff. And then it kind of over in the States, it just kind of got blown up. But I feel like now Halloween, I don't know what it's like now, but over here in Ireland, I feel like it's not really popular anymore. Especially with COVID and stuff, a lot of people just, it's kind of gone.
It's
so it'd be interesting.
I feel like, how do I put this? There's been a lot of dietary movements, and before COVID, there at least in Austin, I remember I didn't go trick-or-treating because my parents had told me that people were putting things to hurt people in candy they were handing out, and that was kind of enough for me. I can go buy candy in the store and I know what it is. And costume parties are a thing on Halloween for sure, but not as much let's go to random people's houses and take their candy.
Yeah, I think the world's kind of evolved in a way that's just kind of a little bit more like it used to be. Like over here in Ireland, you used to be able to leave your front door open and just kind of be like, oh yeah, come on in. Like everyone, I don't know, things have changed, but I don't know. I'll always have a little place in my heart for the old days, how it used to be. Because listen, and have you ever played this game called Costume? Have you ever played? I always say Castle, not Castle Costume. Jesus, half our games are called something with costume in them, so I always get it mixed up. Costume Quest. There we go. Have you ever played that?
No, I haven't gone to it.
I would implore you and everyone that's watching. It's not one of our games. It's made by Double Fine. To play that game on Halloween. It's like $2 on Steam. You will thank me if you're into Halloween. It is a game where you're trick or treat and it's just enjoyable. Yeah, I would definitely implore everyone to give that a Costume Quest.
Costume Quest. Sorry, now I'm getting it messed up.
Yeah,
Yeah, Costume Quest. And then I think we're good to start this giveaway. We got 5 people entered. It doesn't seem like more people are flowing in. And we can keep talking while this runs. I don't know if you've seen this. Yeah, so these like spikes from all over.
That little skull up the top reminds me. It reminds me of the skull from Castle Crashers. It's very similar to Castle Crashers, actually. It's very nice. However, the devs definitely put a lot of work into it. That's great. Kudos to them. I'll be definitely using it. Yeah, it's great.
I love the grubfish, the little worm. They're making a plush version that's going to be, I think it's like you redeem it with an NFT. But I'm super excited for that. I think it like definitely has potential to be like a full mascot, which I always love when projects have that. I think it adds like a level to it.
Yeah. And another thing I think would be really cool for some NFT projects to do is to start to, implement and kind of do some cameos from other NFT projects. That'd be really cool. Like subtle appearances from different games.
Like the grubfish appearing in like Costume Kingdom or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right, so we will do one more giveaway. I'll put everybody into a dance off. I've never done it with 5 people.
Yeah, I love the art style. Really, really nice. It's an interesting one. And are they planning to? Is their roadmap to like just keep building out new little mini party game style?
Yep, and they do like burns and competitions and airdrops from other collections for say like having or being like at the top of the sticker leaderboard.
Yeah, awesome.
I think that's Nathan's win. Yeah, congrats, Nathan.
Yeah, big congrats.
It's going nuts.
Yeah, it's nice little animations. That's right. And projects like this are great. Like, and these, like, this even gets me thinking. Like, that could be an awesome game on console.
It'd be really cool to see on console.
Like party games, yeah. Like back on the Wii or something. That'd be the Wii's not around anymore, but something similar. What is it? The Switch now?
The good old days. Yeah, I miss the Wii.
Yeah, I miss the Wii too. I think everyone misses the Wii.
I think my nephew, so he and his brother both ended up having to get new TVs from their Wii's because we used to hate the like wrist straps, and so they'd never wear theirs and play a lot of Wii tennis straight to the screen.
Yeah, I seen a couple of people that happen. Or the old balance board thing on like a carpet and then it slips and the old head gets an old clattering.
Oh, also I should probably show everybody what they want. Hydro cannon. So how is this usable? Is it usable?
So currently, the way we are doing things is, right now, as the project is building, so we have it. So we have it implemented in the game right now. We're waiting for essentially, obviously, all the console stuff to get sorted. In the meantime, currently, anyone that's an NFT holder gets a governance vote in our games, essentially. So what I would say to do is to join our Discord. You can see it on our Twitter, the link to it, or I can shoot it over. It should be still there anyway.
Yeah.
If not, yeah, I can shoot it over. But it's essentially we have a channel on our Discord called essentially NFTs. And pretty much on any time we are kind of doing anything interesting with any of our games, say for example, like, new, like for example, a couple weeks back we had an alpha for our newest game, and everyone who was an NFT holder got exclusive access to that too. And we're doing things like that in the meantime and running kind of some governance things. So that's what we're doing currently. And I'm actually, in the meantime, I'm talking with a couple of other devs to try and get some stuff going for the NFTs, so like cameos, stuff like that. So we're in the background working on stuff and figuring out how we can make this work in a meaningful way. But right now it's mostly governance. So essentially, it means you get access to anything we're doing in the kind of community. And then what we're planning on doing is, all our NFT holders, we're planning to airdrop keys to our newest games for console too. So we've got lots going. I have that link. It's on our Twitter if you need me to send it to you.
I think I got it. There we go.
Yeah, it's in the
like t.co.
Yeah.
All right, it's on the screen now for anybody who wants to pop in there, and then I'll put it in the chat as well.
Yeah, and in there you can just we have loads of channels. You'll see like loads of channels. You can just if you're not interested in all the rest of it, you can just kind of mute all the channels. And the main one you'll want to be interested in is NFTs. That's where we're going to be running things. Like, for example, another thing we did, though, anyone that was in the Discord got a free airdrop of the NFTs too. That's, we do stuff like that on a regular basis. You'll see there's plenty of channels. We're a small enough community. So yeah, implore everyone to hop in. And also feel free to interact with anyone. We also put, if anyone is in the game dev community, we post job listings there too. And this is completely separate, but in more like AAA companies, we post their job listings. And yeah, we just it's a nice community to be a part of. And
awesome.
in the future, as I say, we'll be implementing more stuff with it. And also, the way we're going to plan to, I have to have a chat with our merch dude, but essentially we're planning to do merchandise at some point, and we're going to make the NFTs pegged to that in some way where they can be redeemed or burned against it or blended against it or whatever. So yeah, there's loads of stuff we're planning. As I say, our main goal and our main push is the console market. That's where we're really hoping to push things. If all these things keep, if we're like, say, for example, we have a chat with whoever and they're like, okay, it's going to be a few years, then it's going to be like, okay, right, we're going to do a game on browser for the meantime to get things going. We'll figure out something. But our main push is console. That's our vision. That's what we're aiming for. Yeah. And then for anyone that is interested in Costume Kingdom, the game, to see the actual characters in play, I would say it's going to be going on sale. I wouldn't pick it up now. It'll be going on sale soon for Halloween. Pick it up. It'll be like $2 if you want to pick it up. You can, or if anyone's in a position where maybe, they just don't have the money and they'd really like to play it, just drop me a DM and I'll get you sorted out. That's no problem at all. But yeah. And It's on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 currently.
And on that note, I'll play this quick launch trailer for the game as well. I really enjoyed this. I think the music's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Costume Kingdom.
Yes, good old Costume King.
I think that's
Yeah,
so cool. On one of the past interviews, they had mentioned that it's sort of similar to Pokemon, and I feel like it's so much more complex than that. Like,
Hey,
I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people describe it like that because that's what they're familiar to. And it's a good way, like it's a good elevator way of describing it. It's kind of like a Halloween themed Pokemon. That's kind of like, to someone who doesn't know what like a monster taming, third person action adventure game is, the easiest way to explain it is, have you ever played Pokemon? They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, it's a 3D version of that, or like Pokemon Sword and Shield. So it's it's interesting that way. So yeah, it's a nice little game. Came out last year. On console, came out last Halloween. So yeah, it's and this our newest game, Splink, will be coming out probably end of this year, early next year. And that's a different style of game. It's a kind of 2D platform game. Kind of monochromatic. If anyone's ever played Limbo, it's kind of similar to Limbo, style and gameplay wise. So yeah, it's we're constantly developing, constantly working on new things, and Costume Kingdom, I suppose, is something that we are looking to continue over the years. Like, though there is a Costume Kingdom like 2. It's not called Costume Kingdom 2, but there is one that we've been working on, and that's if you ever scroll back on your Twitter, you'll see screenshots of that. It's it's a big project. It's a big project for us, but definitely we're excited to keep it growing and to get it going in a meaningful way. So yeah, it's good. It's good fun. It's very good fun. I definitely really enjoy it anyway. And I suppose, like, with these things, it's all about how this progresses over time. Like, we've been around for years, so we're not going anywhere. So yeah, we're just going to keep continuing to build. And the other thing I would say is, if anyone does have any questions about game development in general, you can also ask them in the Discord. That's not like a gated thing or anything. Feel free to ask questions. Where the communities, we've got everyone from professional developers to new people who are just starting to. So it's a wholesome community that's really aiming just to be, kind of there for each other too. And then yeah, so it's good.
Awesome. Well, I feel bad that I've taken so much of your time here. I told you an hour, and I've kept you for almost 2 now.
No, it's grand. As I say, I love having the chat and meeting new people.
Yeah, we'll definitely need to have you back on, because it's been like just talking about the NFT space in general. I have definitely learned a lot. I'm actually gonna go back through and take notes on all that and try to do a little more research into it, because I had no idea how, like, I don't want to use the word corrupted because maybe that's not the right word, but just how like investor focused gaming companies have become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a business. It's not corrupt. It's just a business, and it's like any other business. And a business's goal is to ultimately make money, and that's what they do. And I suppose a lot of people don't see the gaming space in that way. And when you start to look at it that way, it makes a lot more sense. How things work, and yeah, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked at how kind of, and as well, I would say look into too the how workers are treated in the game space. That is another big issue. There is something called crunch in gaming, and that's not everyone likes to work 20 hours a day. I do, but not everyone does. So it's yeah, that's another thing that's a big factor.
Yeah, you're a machine. Isn't crunch is like your favorite, isn't it?
I live in an ethereal crunch. My crunch doesn't end. Most people are in crunch for a week. I've been in crunch for years. So yeah, it's just the way I do things. I just love I love it all too much. I really do. And that, I think once you have that kind of, so the way I explain to people is there's two types of motivations people are motivated by. There's extrinsic and there's intrinsic. 99.99% of the world are extrinsically motivated. So that essentially means that they're motivated by external factors like money, materialistic things, having a nice life, stuff like that. Whereas then there's the very small set of people in the world who are intrinsically motivated, who are motivated just because they want to do well for themselves, because they want to be better than they were yesterday, not because of like a monetary value. They don't have that in mind. It's more, they have this fuel, this passion, this drive to do well, not only for themselves but other people. And I'm one of them people. I just love it. I really do. So yeah,
That's
it's
awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
my pleasure.
Thank you for everybody watching.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to stream without y'all, so thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks, everyone. And as I say, reach out if anyone ever has a question. And thanks so much for watching. You spent 2 hours of your time pretty much. And that's a good time investment, and it's much appreciated. Stay awesome.
Thanks, everybody.